Hello, I'm Terry David Mulligan, and this is Mulligan Stew, the podcast. Mulligan Stew is an actual show that is heard on the CKUA radio network throughout Alberta and across the world, streamed on the CKUA app. But these are the podcast interviews, the real deal. Truly one of my all-time favorite human beings on the planet, Rhiannon Giddens. She was born in North Carolina. Her mother was African-American. Her father was a white classical music singer, and she was sort of headed that way early on. But after considerable opera studies, she found her musical direction when she co-founded the Carolina Chocolate Drops. But she really found her voice when her friend T-Bone Burnett whispered into her ear. She'll tell you the story in just a couple of minutes. There is one constant throughout her music. It's her singular focus on the roots of Black Americana. Her first solo album, Tomorrow Is My Turn, included songs by Odetta and Nina Simone. And for many, the follow-up, Freedom Highway, was one of the albums of the year. On Freedom Highway, Rhiannon takes us through 200 years of songs from the slave plantations through the Civil Rights era to Black Lives Matter. I've had the pleasure of interviewing Rhiannon Giddens twice at the Edmonton Folk Festival, once as a member of the Carolina Chocolate Drops, and the one you're about to hear, well into her solo career. A glorious voice, a wonderful human being. Here's Rhiannon Giddens. The last time you were here, Carolina Chocolate Drops, did you have an idea then that your life was going to unfold like this?
No.
No.
Not at all. No. No, I was settling in. I was like, all right, doing this band thing, and that's the way it's going to be. That was my plan.
Okay. And then T-Bone came along.
Yeah, and just knocked down the entire house of cards.
And what was his pitch to you?
Well, it was basically that it was time, It was time to step out and really use my voice. The Chocolate Drops is an amazing band and idea, but I could never really step out so much as a singer without turning it into Rhiannon and the Chocolate Drops. You know what I mean? It needs to stay a string band. I was very, very strict about that. In my mind, it was like, a few songs, yes, but like this is a string band. And so, the opportunity to
to go mainstream?
No, not to go mainstream at all.
But closer to it.
Well, no, because clearly I've not gone mainstream. But was just sincerely to get to use my voice. I'm a singer before anything else, and I'd never had a solo record. I was 38 years old, and I was like, well, when T-Bone Burnett comes and calling and says, let's do a solo record, and your record label's behind it, you're an idiot if you don't. If you say no,
Oh, no, I don't want to do that.
It's like, no, let's just do, let's do this. Let's come back in a couple of years. It's like the stars aligned. And, when you're an artist, you have to listen to that too, because sometimes you can get so focused on what you're doing. When somebody comes and taps you on the shoulder, you need to listen, because there's all the stuff out here that you can't see or control. And, that's sort of aligning itself for you. So to turn your back on that is not, I don't think, the best idea.
How long did you think about it?
Oh, I didn't think about it at all, because I didn't really think this is the start of my new career.
Sure.
I was like, I get a chance to make a vocal record first, a vocal record,
with
and
T-Bone.
Then a vocal record with T-Bone Burnett. Like, it seems like a really awesome thing, and I really didn't anticipate anything other than we're just going to make this record, and I'll go back to the Chocolate Drops, and, all will be well.
Let me see if I'm sort of close to right here. You've always had a message with your music.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, you could have gotten your message out via Carolina Chocolate Drops. But by going solo, you have increased the footprint of your message.
Yeah.
How gratifying is that? When did it become obvious that that's what was unfolding in front of you?
Well, I think the reception to the record was kind of overwhelming to me. I was like, wow, people really, not only did they like it, which I'm very happy about, because, I thought me and T-Bone did a good job on that record. And everybody who played on it was amazing. But that they got the message, that they got the idea of what we're really trying to put out there, which is, this idea of American music being stratified and separated is the wrong. I mean, I think it's not the way to go because it's not how it started. You know, you didn't have all of these fake separations between different types of American music. People just played what they wanted to play, and you know, just allowing it to be what it became, and the fact that people really picked up on that, and I was kind of like, oh, okay, you know, this is a way to get to also, and then, you know, just starting to think about, you know, for me, being able to continue as a solo artist means maintaining the integrity of the Chocolate Drops. You know, it was never my desire to change how that band was. So this way, I can get the message out in a different way, and have more of a palette that's not going to compromise the Chocolate Drops, you know, and then maintain that idea still, so that it can come back. We can we can reunite. We can still bring that back out. And it's still the Carolina Chocolate Drops, but I have this whole other sort of palette to use, you know.
How did it feel to free your voice?
Oh, great. I mean, T-Bone would also say I've been hiding in that band for a long time. I mean, he did say that to me, and he's right. You know, I can do all of these things, but until you've done it, it's easy to be like, well, I could do X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? And to be actually able to explore that just from a sheer singing point of view is amazing.
How did it show itself? What songs were you pulled to?
Well, I mean, you know, doing Waterboy was, you know, I mean, that was my contribution. I suggested that, and to be able to unleash my sort of throat in that, you know, to represent Odetta, to try to, you know, just keep her name out there. Not that she needs my help, but you know what I mean. And her legacy is incredible, but every bit, you know, and to kind of see how people respond to that, and to go, yeah, that's a whole part of American folk music too. Is, you know, we tend to be like, oh, there's no classical influence whatsoever, and it's like, no, actually, you know, it's a pretty complicated, interesting history. You know, when you get back into, and black singers in particular, you know, there's all of these sort of coming together and then going out again, and then coming together and going out again, and to be able to just like start pulling that in, and now I'm singing with symphonies and
San Francisco.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
It was ridiculous. I was like,
fantastic.
I cannot believe I'm here, having sung Summertime in the original key, Lonely House, like two tunes from Bill Marion Cook from the early century, like in the stratosphere, and then singing Waterboy with the San Francisco Symphony, like, and then at the Purchaser's Option, like, it was just incredible. You know, that's why I didn't see that coming at all. But I'm so grateful, you know, for the path my life has taken, because I've, you know, when you follow, that's what happens when you follow the muse. When you prepare and you do the work and you put the work in, and then an opportunity comes, you go, okay, you know, I'm not going to hold on to this preconceived notion of what my career needs to look like. I'm going to follow, you know, where I'm led.
Did Roebuck Staples talk to you? I mean, did his voice reach out to you? Let me tell you a story very quickly. I did an interview with him in Vancouver, and my last question to Pop Staples was, what about your legacy? What's your legacy to all of us? He started to answer, and he started to cry.
Oh, wow.
And I get choked up thinking about it, because he kept saying, I haven't done enough.
Wow.
And there's a tear rolling down his face.
Right.
It's Roebuck Staples. So as soon as I saw Freedom Highway, I thought, okay, take me on that trip, you know?
Well, it just, for me, like, I feel such a responsibility, you know, because I'm like, my life is what my parents and my grandparents fought for, the life that I have right now. Yeah. You know, like, not everybody's life. Not everybody's got it as good as I have it. And I recognize that. Like, when you have privilege, which I have privilege, like everybody's got varying degrees of privilege. My privilege has come directly from the fights that my parents and my grandparents and their parent, you know, have been fighting for hundreds of years. And so I feel a great responsibility towards that, because I'm like, they fought so that I could think and write these songs, you know, and have the luxury to read these books and go to college and not have to worry so much about all that stuff, you know. It's like, that I feel that really, really strongly. And like, so we were in Australia and we played right before Mavis Staples. And of course I was like, oh my God, we ended on Freedom Highway, and she came up, she hugged us all, and she turned to me and she said, "You are one soulful sister." And I just went, that's it. I'm happy. You know what I mean? Like, to feel her approbation and to know that we are continuing, to say this message. And it's like, I just think it's so important. I just think it's important to connect, to be able to sing Birmingham Sunday with Joan Baez in California was like, blew my mind, to know that she's been singing about this stuff for however many years, 50 years, I think, next year. And to know that, these influences on me, on the whole band, on everybody, that there is this through line. Nobody comes out of a vacuum. Nobody is sprung into being like an activist. Like, it all is building blocks on somebody else's work, and it's important to acknowledge that. It's really important to connect to that and to go, we're in a long lineage of people who want to make a difference and are trying to change things.
It feels like a history lesson. It really does. There's that line in Freedom Highway. The whole world is wondering.
I was like, which line is he going to pull out?
The whole world is wondering what's going on with the United States.
Yeah.
And that was 1965.
I know. Trust me, I know. It's intense. It's intense to sing that line now.
Was it? Because you did both Newport festivals, jazz and folk. Nice.
Yeah.
It was John Prine who said. He wanted to dedicate the song "Your Flag Decal Won't Get You Into Heaven Anymore" to our current Führer, Donald Benito Trumpetini.
Oh boy!
And there's now a voice coming off stages, and I kind of wondered if it would be a collective voice, it would be a single voice. Where would be the pushback from the artists of today?
Yeah, it's interesting to see what's happening, but the thing for me, what's really important to me, is that if we're going to reach people, it's really important not just be like, Trump sucks. It's like, I never mention that man's name in my show. You know what I'm saying? It's like, because like, I'm like, we need to talk about the issues that got to the point where he got elected. I don't want to talk about him.
Yeah.
I want to talk about
how we got there,
how we're still there, how can we expect a country that was founded on genocide, on slavery, on rampant capitalism? How can we expect that to bring us to roses and incense today? You know what I mean? Like, it's brought a lot of really amazing innovations and inventions and beautiful cultural things, but it has a ton of negativity in there. And it's like, that stuff doesn't just disappear.
Yeah.
When you read the language that was said against African Americans from the beginning, it's been a constant through line of the bottom of the totem pole of, we don't want you here. Okay, maybe slavery is bad, but we don't want you here. Constantly. So it's like, how are we going to turn around and expect that to all be okay now? It's not going to be. But if we get stuck in what's happening now, and we get this back and forth and accusatory fingers, I'm like, look, we're all screwed up because of the system, because the system is screwed up. So if we stop looking at it from a personal point of view and start looking at it from a systemic point of view, maybe we can get somewhere. And I maintain that music is a cultural reflection of what's going on. It's a reflection of what's going on in the culture. You can always tell what's happening in the culture by the music that's coming out. So, and by looking at the music from the 20s, from the 1880s, from the set, you know what I mean? By looking at that music, we can see that these are deep veins that have been running in our country since the beginning. So why not focus on that and go, okay, so how do we go forward from here, instead of like, oh, you're not a racist, it's like, psh. Let's see what we can do here and celebrate the beauty while kind of going, oh, okay, how do we fix this?
What do you want that audience tonight to go away with?
Those questions are always hard for me, because who am I to say what somebody's going to get from a show? I don't like to pigeon that down. I don't like to, because if I say, I hope you get X, Y, Z, what about, L and K? Like, I can't imagine what somebody might get. People constantly surprise me. They'll come up and they'll say, this song made me blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? Really? So I just hope people walk away, feeling feeling great, I mean, yeah, I want that. I don't want anybody walking away feeling like crap.
Which song grabs you hardest?
It changes.
There's no ducking it. You when you get to that song, you go, let's go.
I mean, it changes. Like At the Purchaser's Option is pretty consistently, you got to be, some of these songs you kind of have to be in that space to do them justice. When you're singing about slavery, when you're singing about Birmingham, the bombing of the church in Birmingham, Birmingham Sunday, when you're singing about this stuff, like if you're not in a particular space, I feel like you're not doing it justice. You're not doing these people's lives. Like we're pretty, I just get to sing about it. So if I can't find a certain solemnity, and a certain sort of kinship with that person I'm singing about, then I can't do it.
Are your babies playing music?
My daughter just got hooked on fiddle. She plays tin whistle. She plays some Irish tin whistle, but she really wants to play fiddle now. So, but they sing, like they have a great pitch and their little voices I love hearing that. But
is Ireland showing up in your music?
No, not other than it does in American music.
Okay.
Where it is.
It's just a very musical country and very musical people. You can hear music coming from every bar, and there's bars everywhere.
Yeah,
of course.
It is true.
How this is astonishing, this run that you're on. Do you step off and take time for yourself? And what do you want? Okay.
I'm learning to do that a little bit more because, especially given the weight of the things that we're playing and that I'm singing and talking about. I'm talking about slavery and civil rights and police brutality and coon songs and minstrelsy. Like, it's no joke, So it's more imperative to take the time and to be with my family more than I have been, But it's hard. I want to work. I work. It's what I do. I want to spread the message. I want to play and sing, but I'm doing my best to take time now and again,
Carnegie Hall, New Orleans Jazz Festival, the Ryman, Chicago Blues Fest, Vancouver Folk Festival, Gershwin and Bernstein, San Francisco Symphony, both Newport events, the Edmonton Folk Festival. Where are you tomorrow? Wyoming?
Wyoming. It's right up there. I've never been there, but I hear it's a nice state. Yeah, it's just holding on tight and doing what we do.
Do you hear more music? Can you hear it in your head? Do you want to write your own tunes again?
I don't know. I'm back in the gathering stage.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Hunting and gathering.
I have a feeling once that spigot is open, it's kind of hard to tamp it down. I've been writing since the record came out, so we'll see. We'll see if I think it's good enough to put out there, though. I don't know.
More symphonies, okay? Now that you have the charts?
Oh, yeah.
More
and the really cool thing is the guy who's doing my charts, most of my charts, is in the Punch Brothers, Gabe Witcher. So, we're doing this thing. We're trying to change the narrative, change the paradigm,
This is, what do you want to play? We'll play a tune.
Does it have to be vernacular?
It can be anything.
Play Leontine Price singing O Patria Mia. O Patria Mia, my pew, my pew. Oh, it's just marvelous.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, you asked.
Thank you. Thank you. Truly, one of the most interesting people I have ever met in or out of the music business, Rhiannon Giddens. And whatever she does next and with the rest of her life, I am going to follow each and every step of the way because I want to know what she knows. I want to go where she goes. I want to hear what she hears. Rhiannon Giddens on Mulligan Stew, the podcast, Spotify, Google Play Music, and Apple Podcasts. By the way, if you go to the podcast, do us a favor and subscribe. And if you get a chance to review, please review. Give us those glorious stars that people always hand out. All right, up next, Frazey Ford, who's teasing us. She has an album in the works, but they're still a ways off yet, maybe the fall. And she's released 2 songs in the last little while just to keep her profile up. One is Can You Get to That from Funkadelic, and When We Get By from the D'Angelo Songbook. She also has a couple of summer dates we're going to talk about as well. So next week, Frazey Ford. Thank you for listening.